Good morning, everybody. Good morning to all the media workers who are here this morning and to all of you looking at this on the GIS channel and, of course, on our website, www.gov.gd/TV. We say a special good morning to you. My name is Leslie Ann Johnson, and I am sitting in this morning for Ms. Philomena Robertson, who is in Bali, Indonesia, with the Honorable Prime Minister for the World Bank and IMF meetings. So I'm sitting in for her this morning. And we thank you for coming to our weekly post-cabinet briefing, which we know is usually held on Tuesdays, but there was a function with the ARC piece yesterday, so it had to be put to today. So we're happy to have you here. In with us this morning, on to my immediate left, is the Honorable Kate Lewis. She's the Minister with responsibility for youth development. And she'll be talking this morning about youth programs. We know the FLY program was recently launched in St. David, and there are other programs still to be launched, the Empower and ACE programs. And of course, she'll also be talking about Imani, a very important subject. And to her left is Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, the Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture, and the Arts. He will be talking this morning, well, giving us an update on relevant matters pertaining to sports, and he'll also touch briefly on the Festival of the Arts. We know registration is currently underway, running until October 19th. Good morning. It's good to have you both. Which one of you is going to start this morning? Okay, great.
Thank you, Leslie, and good morning to all our media personnel, our listeners and viewers throughout our Tri-Island state. We also say good morning to those on social media and to those in the diaspora. This morning, I am happy to be updating you on several programs undertaken within the Ministry of Youth Development. First of all, Project FLY. And Project FLY is fostering level-headed youth. This program is geared at training our young persons in a variety of skills, including literacy, numeracy, vocational, and business skills. We are in the third edition of the program, and on last week, Thursday, we would have launched that program in St. David's, La Sagesse. Very soon, we will be launching also in St. John's, and 25 young persons from each parish will be engaged. Secondly, we have Project Rich, a component of our Aspire program in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Development and the Caribbean Development Bank. Project ACE was launched in July at Her Majesty's Prison. Currently, we have 32 inmates who are currently engaged in the program, and they will be trained in a variety of skills, including literacy and numeracy. They will also be trained in CVQ Level 2 in poultry production, crop production, facility maintenance, and small engine repairs. It is important to note that a counselor is attached to the program. Project ACE, another component of Aspire. This program is geared at increasing male participation in youth community rehabilitation projects. It specifically targets young men at risk and aims to develop positive, productive, and financially independent young adults who will be able to make a valuable contribution to society. The program will be piloted in Mount Horn, St. Andrew, and 25 males will be engaged in an integrated skill training program, soft skills and TVET skills. On October 16th, a stakeholder consultation will be held to discuss the findings of a study which would have been conducted in August of this year following the launch will take place. Another program, Blog Vibes. Blog Vibes is a component of the Let's Vibe, an expansion of the Let's Vibes program held earlier this year. What we realized that we were unable to reach the guys, young women who are on the blogs, and as a result, we decided to create Blog Vibes specifically for them. The aim is to engage them, to discuss issues affecting them, to listen to their concerns and even their suggestions, because we believe it would help us to plan appropriately for them, because they too have their contribution to make towards nation building. Our first Blog Vibe session took place last week, Thursday, in the village of Paradise inside the Cocoa, and this coming Friday, we will be heading to gun battle inside of Guelph. A very important project to the Ministry of Youth Development is the Empower program. This program is long awaited, but we are now ready to launch the program, and it is a training program that was conceptualized specifically targeting young males who are unemployed and in need of self-development, academic training, and academic enhancement. These skills will help them to contribute more meaningfully to the development of our country. Thus far, the young men have been identified, and on Friday, this Friday, October 12th, at the Youth Center, there will be an official launch. 500 young men will be expected to be engaged in the program over the next 12 months. And they will be engaged in a series of activities which include literacy and numeracy skills, sports, direct skills, apprenticeship skills, community service, and small business. Now to the new Imani program. And the Imani program is one of our important programs in the Ministry of Youth Development. Currently, we have 2,760 trainees involved in the program. Last month, September, 34 of these trainees would have received permanent employment, and the permanent placements would have included the Royal Grenada Police Force, Ministry of Education for our teaching assistants, Ministry of Finance, and also within the private sector. And at this juncture, I just want to make a call for our young trainees who are involved in the program. Whenever you are placed in a different ministry or in the private sector, we encourage you to take the training seriously. Training is necessary, but once you perform, you have the opportunity to receive permanent placement. Our mandatory 50-50 payment policy would have been fully implemented on September 30th. We have many private sector organizations who are making the necessary contributions. For new businesses, they have a grace period of 3 months. However, for the businesses who have not responded to the call or who have not made any contact with the Imani Secretariat to discuss, negotiate the payment policy, we have decided to reassign trainees elsewhere. At this point, I am happy to announce that we are about to launch batch 6 of the program. The launch will take place on October 26. The Imani Secretariat has already contacted the new participants. Registration began yesterday and will continue tomorrow. 800 new participants will be engaged. Yesterday, we had a TAMCC symposium. It was the first symposium under the theme, Gifted to Succeed. It was a successful one, and this was a motivational session aimed at encouraging our young TAMCC students to make the use of their time in school now, so that when they are finished, they can grab the opportunities out there waiting for them. Just by way of announcement, finally, National Youth Week will be celebrated in November from the 11th to the 16th, Youth Fest 2018 as we call it. And there would be several activities during that week, including Youth Awards, Youth Service Weekend, Youth Expo, and a peace concert, just to name a few. An official launch will take place on October 23rd, where further details will be provided. Thank you very much, and that was an update from the Ministry of Youth Development.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister with responsibility for youth development, looking at a number of things that are happening within the ministry, of course, as she mentioned, the FLY program and other programs, and giving us an update as well on the Imani program, 800 new participants soon to join the batch. All right, so we'll go now to the Honorable Nolan Cox, Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture, and the Arts.
Thank you very much, Lezian, and let me also take this opportunity to recognize colleague Minister, Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister with responsibility for youth development. Let me also take this opportunity to say a pleasant morning to viewers on television and the World Wide Web, internationally, locally, regionally. Thank you for joining us this morning. This morning, I just wanted to give some update on sports, what is taking place in regards to sports, some key things locally and also internationally. I will start locally. On the weekend, we had the commencement of our National Cross Country Championships, 2018 Cross Country Championships. It was very successful in terms of the turnout that we had participation for the first round. There are 3 rounds, and then the finals commence on the 2nd of November. So the first round took place on Saturday, at SAS, commencing from SAS ground. The second round would be on the 13th. That will be from the Lassages playing field. And the third round would be on the 20th of October from McDonald College. So we want to thank all our boys and girls who are participating in this important sporting activity, and we commend them. So in terms of the winners, we had winners from Saturday's event, the boys division and the girls division. So those information will be made available to the public going forward. But the Ministry of Sports do have those information. But we want to commend all our young boys and girls for participating and making sure that the event continue to be a successful one. As regards to, in terms of capacity building, the ministry continues to focus on capacity building as a key component of our function. And the netball, we focusing on doing some training for netball umpires, coaches, PE teachers, team captains, bringing persons up to mark with the rules and regulations as they continue to be amended. So this Thursday, the 11th of October, at 9 a.m., the Tantin court, netball court, will be conducting some training for persons in these respective areas. We, in dialogue with our partners and key persons in KRQ and Pidimatnik, we thought it best that we have the trainers go up to KRQ. So they will go up to KRQ next week, I believe on Monday, to conduct the training. We believe that instead of having persons to come down in terms of our capacity, in terms of to finance the trip, it would be more effective that we have the trainers go up to KRQ, where they'll be capturing more persons and take the time and do an effective training. So KRQ will receive training in that area as well. We want to extend our thanks and gratitude to D Sports Shop for once again sponsoring the secondary school netball tournament 2018. This tournament will commence on the 18th of October. And I think it's in excess of $20,000 in prizes and trophies. So we want to thank these sports shop, Victor Daniel and these sports shop for their support towards the development of netball in Grenada. Also, we had the launch of the Intersector Netball Tournament 2018, sponsored by Power FM. We want to thank Power FM for coming on board with sports and supporting all the development of our young girls. And now we do have some male players, and we want to recognize that initiative, and to also thank the Grenada Netball Association as they continue to focus on moving forward with the development of netball in Grenada. Basketball. The secondary school subway basketball championship 2018-19 is set to commence from the 23rd of November onto the 2nd of February. So we'll hear more about this as we move forward with basketball at the secondary school level. I know that there are works in place to take basketball at the primary school level, but we'll hear more of that going forward. We believe that more efforts at the grassroots level would get an opportunity for young persons to display their talent at a much earlier age. So we are working on that. Football, as you know, this Friday, our Spice Boys continue the quest in the CONCACAF Nations League Championship. and we are set to go up against Cuba at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Friday evening, beginning at 8 p.m. So we encourage all Grenadians, even persons from Kiaraku and the diaspora who can make it, to come to Grenada to support our Spice Boys as they continue on the quest to make Grenada proud and fly our flag high in the area of football. On the international scene, as you know, the Youth Olympic Games is currently ongoing in Argentina, and we have 4 athletes from Grenada representing Grenada at the Youth Olympic Games in Argentina. Those 4 athletes are Jared Sylvester. He will compete, I think this coming Thursday. He will compete in a male 400 meter sprint. We have Kelsey Muriel Ross, who will compete in the shot put. She won a medal at the Carifta Games. I think she will compete on Friday. We have a swimmer, Delron Felix. He competed, I think, yesterday. He placed 5th in one of the heats, and I think he gave a good account of himself based on the field of swimmers that he was up against. And on Thursday, tomorrow, we have Enia Noel. She will be representing us in the triathlon. I think also on Thursday, Darren has another swimming meet, that is the 100 freestyle, and he'll be representing Grenada in that meet as well. So these are the 4 athletes. We continue to provide the necessary support to them and the Grenada, our National Olympic Committee, and they're supporting our team in the international arena. We know that our coach, we have our coach with, and all the technical persons out there with them, Coach Paul Phillip, Ms. Dennis Williams, and the persons who are from the Olympic Committee out there supporting them to ensure that they perform at the best to represent Grenada. As it relates to culture and Festival of the Arts, we are very pleased with how responses are going in terms of interest and participation in Festival of the Arts 2018. One of the things that we were challenged with is that we got a call from persons to advance the date for registration. We were supposed to commence registration from the 1st of October, and interested persons calling us to advance the date for registration. So registration was, I think, 2 weeks earlier than initially planned. So that is a clear indication of the level of interest and participation that we anticipate at Festival of the Arts 2018. So plans are on the way. The preliminaries will commence on the 26th of October. And so we continue to encourage everyone to do the best and to give an excellent showing when we do culminate in December, on December 6th. So these are the updates that we have this morning that we thought it was important to share what is taking place in terms of culture and sports and the youth, of course, as presented by colleague Minister Honorable Kate Lewis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Cox. Okay, so the floor is now open for questions from members of the media.
Okay, well, I'll go first. Good morning to both of you ministers. My question first to Minister Cox. Now that the Invitational Games has been taken off the international calendar, what is government's response or take on it since they have invested so much in it?
Very important. I am not aware that the Invitational Games has been taken off the calendar. I do not have that information before me. The most recent information that I am aware of, that they have been discussing and making efforts to host the games. And the reason for that, as they indicated, is that the feedback from the public, feedback from stakeholders, is that this is an important event, and they should do everything that they can to ensure that it continues. But we haven't had any official communication of such that the games have been taken off the calendar. I do not have any official communication in that regard.
Can you respond to though an audit that was requested by government in relation to the games as well, to the invitational? Has they received anything?
Government didn't really receive an audit. What we requested of the Greater Invitational is like we do for organizations that we make significant contributions to, is that you present information as to how government's contribution, as to how taxpayers' contributions were expended. That is what we requested. As such, that would be part of their assessment, their financial audit. But we haven't requested an overall audit or so. But that is part of their procedure. What we are most concerned about is how government funds are expended, and that is what we requested. They have presented some preliminary figures in that regard, and those figures that report is with the Ministry of Finance, because that is where the funds came from.
Okay, can you say like the step going forward? What's likely to happen?
Well, as indicated by the Prime Minister, the government remains committed to supporting the event. Once they can sort whatever challenges that they have, once they prepare and they're ready to go, the government is prepared and ready to support the Greater Invitational. That is what was communicated by the Prime Minister, and that is our current position. As I say, it's a private entity. While it's vested with it, a public good, there is limitations on government part how far we can go. We can make recommendations, but decision rests with the directors of the Greater Invitational, and so we are very hopeful that the game can come off, and we believe it is important for young athletes to get an opportunity to see and to experience international athletics right here home in Greater. Also, we believe that we have received great value in terms of Greater being showcased through ESPN, and ESPN having a viewership of over 100 million people seeing Grenada. I think it is quite excellent. So in that regard, we would love for it to continue, so that Greater continue to be showcased throughout the world in every aspect, and that our young persons will get an opportunity to meet and interact with international athletes that will help inspire them to be at that level one day. So we believe that there is great value in that product. However, we are trying our best to see how we do what we can from our end. But as I say, that decision rests with the Greater Invitational Incorporated.
I wanted to ask Minister Lewis a question. Today is World Mental Health Day, and I just wanted to find out from you if there's anything in terms of preparation, or how is your ministry really looking to deal with mental health among young people. I don't know if you saw over the weekend a video that was circulating where a young man had apparently attempted suicide on Facebook. It was shown. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Is there anything that your ministry is putting in place or is looking at doing, to really deal with that among the youth?
Our ministry will usually collaborate with the Ministry of Social Development, but that ministry will take the lead on dealing with mental health issues and so. And we just provide the support.
Good morning, Karima Lewis, the New to the newspaper. Just a follow-up question to Crystalina's in relation to the invitational. Minister Cox, would you be able to give us a guarantee that the games will be held in 2019?
Well, certainly not. I cannot give a guarantee for something that my Ministry of the Government of Greater do not have direct control over. As I indicated, that we would like very much for it to happen, based on the feedback that we are receiving from a number of persons, stakeholders overseas and here. We would like for it to happen, but we cannot. I cannot give a guarantee for something that we have no direct responsibility for. As I said, we have met with them. We have stated what our position is, and we allow them to work. They have indicated that they are working on their end to see how they can get the games off. And we're just trying to be hopeful in that regard. Honestly, that is where we are. I know that what I can tell you is that there is still they have some things that they have to do between now and maybe next month or so, and with once they can get those things done within that window. I know that they also met with the Greater Athletic Association recently as last week. And so the Athletic Association, and discussion with them, I had discussions with them as well. They are very supportive of the games as well. And they would like for the games to happen. It provides a good standing for Grenada in terms of in the athletic arena as well, hosting such a significant event. One of the things that we as government is cognizant of that events like this have been tried in several countries, and they have similar challenges in terms of resources, financing, its sustainability, as we have seen that Greater Invitational having. So it's not anything new in terms of the challenges of hosting such a games because of the cost that is associated with it. But they have indicated that they are working, trying to acquire new strategic partners who can help support and maybe come on board to help with financing the games and not just government alone. So we are very hopeful, and we are waiting feedback from them as well in that regard. So let's be hopeful that the games do happen. Yeah.
Can you tell me when the CEO position at the Spice Must Corporation will be filled?
Okay. Based on dialogue with the board, they are planning hopefully to have that advertisement placed in the newspapers and the public by this weekend. I know that they were trying, when I spoke to them on Tuesday, they were trying to have it ready for this weekend so that it can be published in this weekend's newspaper. So if it didn't make this weekend, definitely next weekend's newspaper and other forms of public media, that announcement of that position will be out. But I know that they have indicated they're ready, and that is their responsibility, and they are moving forward with that. Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what is the rationale behind the terminating of some of the services of the members of the SMC board?
Rationale services? I am not certain, but one of the things that is there's a normal practice that boards are reconstituted. Okay, under two circumstances. One, they're reconstituted when they have met the term. And two, they are reconstituted normally after an elections. The cabinet has given a directive that all boards were reconstituted. So it wasn't any one particular board. So that was a cabinet policy. And so from time to time, there are going to be changes on the board, maybe because persons who have long-standing one, because persons who have other commitments and do not wish to serve. So changes are made in that direction. Changes are made based on different policies, and sometimes I think it's also useful to give other minds an opportunity to make contribution to development of the product. But there is nothing that is basically how it is. Basically, that is what was responsible for the reconstitution of the board. Currently, we are working towards. With the National Museum, the Greater National Museum, we have an initial meeting with them, and we are working towards reconstituting a board for the National Museum as well. We have just recently reconstituted the board for the Greater Cultural Foundation, which had the first meeting yesterday. We changed the chairman because the chairman would have moved to the Ministry of Finance, and as such, there will be a direct conflict in terms of where the present chairman sits. But that is basically how all our boards are reconstituted.
In relation to the Cultural Foundation, who is the chairman and the members?
All the members I can't tell you off my head, but currently the chairman of the Greater Cultural Foundation is Ms. Curl Hoshialik, who works at the Greater Tourism Authority. We thought that she would be an appropriate person to lead the foundation at this time, and she accepted such responsibility, and we're happy to work with her and to see how we can move forward with the development of the culture in Greater. But the information of the board members is public information. You can get that information from the ministry whenever you wish to do so.
Another question to you, Minister Cox. In light of a recent occurrence involving a coach and a student who I understand is also an athlete, is an incident of a sexual nature, I want to find out what is the ministry's position on this in terms of what measures are put in place to perhaps deal with persons who are found in such acts, or maybe where athletes can report. What are your ministry doing? What is your ministry doing?
Well, two things. Issues regarding abuse, sexual abuse, be it male or female, falls within the same ambit of what the Ministry of Social Development is doing. We have recently commenced a center that you can call and make reports, and so that center is not just for special victims, and not just to deal with females only, but also sexual abuse by males as well. So whether with coach, whether in homes, that center responsible for everything. There is also an effort right now by government. We're working to look for a home, a special home for persons who have been victims also, that they can place periodically until they can move on back, or maybe back into the home or back to another home. So that is the work that the Ministry of Social Development is actually doing. As it relates to the particular incident, we have been informed that the Royal Greater Police Force is investigating the matter, and I cannot speak, and I don't believe that it's appropriate for me to speak directly on that matter currently, as it is under investigation. But we have recognized, not often, but in the past, there have been incidents of sporting personnel who have found themselves crosshairs with the law in such regard. What we have recognized is that is something that we would have to do some more work in terms of capacity building, working with our current coaches, and especially persons, those that we have attached in the schools. We'll have to work closely with the Ministry of Education to see how we can put some programs in place to educate persons and to safeguard the kids that they look after every day. I know in some other countries they are very strict laws as regards to children. I could recall sometime about a year or about 2 years ago, I had an engagement in Australia, and before travel, I was asked to sign a special form indicating that I would not find myself in a room alone with a child. I would not take out a picture of a child. So maybe those are some of the things that we might have to be looking at, and those countries have very strict laws regarding how adults and children interact. We have not really looked at that, but those are some of the discussions we will need to have to see how the interactions take place and to put measures in place to protect our kids.
Just to add here, we have to realize that persons are innocent until proven guilty. The Ministry of Education has control over persons who are within the education system. However, in that particular case, we have persons who are involved in private training clubs. So it's a call for parents to ensure that they take responsibility and ensure that they are trusted, they are trusting the persons who they are placing their children in, the care of the children. Thank you.
Let me-
Mr. Lewis.
You go ahead.
Yes, I just want to run two questions by you based on what you would have spoken of, and that is, what is the difference between Empower and Project Fly per se, because it caters for young men, young people around that perhaps age group?
First of all, Project Fly caters for both young men and young women. Empower caters specifically for young men. Project Fly is also a 3 months program, but for Empower, they will be engaged for 12 months.
Activities do for both of the programs?
Activities will be similar in some cases. However, because of the nature of the young men at risk that have been selected for the program, there will be some differences. For example, the young men will be involved in direct sports. This is not a component of the Project Fly, but in the Empower, they have that. They have direct skills and apprenticeship skills and so. So it is specifically geared at young men who are at risk. Some of them would have been in conflict with the laws and so, but it's an opportunity for them to become empowered at the end of their training session.
Okay, and secondly, the 50-50 payment that you spoke of for the new batch of Imanis going out, is it something different to those who would have been out before? Government took up the full responsibility of the payment, but you're talking 50-50 now of those being placed within entities, so that means the companies would pay half, government would be paying half. Okay, thank you.
Just follow up a little bit on the two questions that you asked, the Empower. The whole objective of the Empower, and I'm certain that persons in the public would have observed and can resonate with that. When we go to our classrooms, when we go to the exam halls, we see less of our men, young men participating. And for us, that is a concern. And we believe that we have a responsibility as a ministry. If there are areas in which our men seem to be vulnerable, we should put some structures in place. And it's not taking anything away from our young women, but we are working to ensure that both our young men and our young women perform and excel in every single aspect. And we have recognized that our young men are falling short a bit. We believe that we should not wait until it gets worse, but we should act now. And so Empower is designed to really try to see how we can get our young men focus and try to find out what is it that they want to do with their life and to help them to move forward. As you know, sometimes most homes, parents would have that kind of safeguard for young girls, and the boys you can leave them to go out and do whatever they wish, and so sometimes they allow themselves not to focus on some key important things. We believe that this program will help them to refocus and to really achieve and to find themselves. So I just wanted to point that out.
Let me just add. After careful analysis of all our programs exposed to our young men and women, we would realize that they are dominated by young women. So that is one of the reasons, again, we specifically created that program targeting young males, so that the young women, they're already dominating all the other programs. So that was just for them, the young men.
And that's my last question. Just to ask, why did government make that perhaps change to the money program and take part of the responsibility now than it was?
We have to realize that government as well as private sector has a responsibility for the development of our country. The private sector, they benefit as well as government. Also, by having that 50-50 payment policy, it creates an avenue for more young persons to get the opportunity for training, because now you see government is expending less, and as a result, the additional funds there will cater for more young persons.
Just to reiterate, we are not implementing the cost sharing measure just for new, but also for existing. All right, so we want to reiterate that as well. And just to say that the government of Grenada, we are very grateful to all our partners who have come on board with us with the new e-planning program. And without them, the program could not have been successful, certainly. And so we really asking them, those who have not considered as yet, if there is a need for us to meet, to discuss further, but we would really love for our corporate persons to really come on board with the cost sharing measure. We believe that there is a great value in doing that, both for them and government. They have supported the government of Grenada in the past and continue to do that now, and we really would like for them to be there. We do not wish that we would have to move trainees away because a business doesn't want to support the cost sharing measure. That is not our desire. Our desire is to engage as much partners as possible to ensure that they are part of those trainees' development. And in most cases, some of the trainees are retained by them full time. Because they see the value in having that person working for them. Is in that regard that we are hoping that persons from the business sector can engage us, and we are looking forward to engage in that regard. All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Minister, somebody else has a question? Okay, go right ahead.
Good morning, Rachel Bain, WPG 10. My question is similar to that of Kristalina, but just a little twisted. I remember during the NDC reign, government used to pay half, while the businesses pay the rest. But since your government took office, that was removed. I want to know why it was removed and why now it's being reinstated.
What I can say here is that businesses complain about challenges that they would have experienced with the economic downturn coming into office. At this time, our country has been experiencing economic growth consistently over the years, and we believe that businesses are now in a position to assist us with the cost sharing.
My last question is related to Project Reach. It's about providing skills and assisting the young men to reintegrate into society, right? But what measures the government are putting in place? Because sometimes these men, when they go back out in the street, they go back out into the world, they are not accepted. What measures does the government have in place to assist not just these people when they go out, but the businesses in accepting them to work for them?
This would call for education from the government to the business sector, and also for citizens on a whole that young persons may make mistake and they have been rehabilitated. So it's just about making that request so that they can be fully re-engaged into our society. So basically engaging them.
If I can just add to that, the whole idea of Project Reach is it's not just for persons when they go back into society to be engaged with maybe a business, but also they can establish their own business, which some of them did, and which is also thriving. I believe that our people are forgiving people, we are compassionate people, and would understand that persons don't make mistakes. And I don't think that they will hold that hard and fast against our young persons. Once they see that they are trying to display the right qualities and behaviors that is conducive for what they want to do. So we call on our community, we call on the business sector to provide whatever necessary support that they can for young people after coming through that experience. Even from government end, we have made a similar measure to see how we can help by the offenders act by expunging certain persons' records after a number of years to kind of help them. So we are trying to do our part, and we know that there is always room for improvement, and we are going to continue to look to see if there are any more ways that we can come up with measures to help those persons who are being reintegrated back into our society after coming through the prisons.
So, what about the repeated offenders? They go under this program and they repeat.
Which programs?
Project Reach, you have the repeated offenders, so they come out, they reintegrate in society, they get whatever benefits and so forth, and then they repeat.
I'll be frank with you in that, as with everything else, with every program, you may not have 100% success, and we know that some persons they have challenges in terms of the habits. We have discussed it, we have looked at it together with the prisons, and they have observed that persons who have been repeating do have other challenges that is beyond the program that we are offering. And some of it require a significant level of counseling, and the environment in which those persons are going back in may not be conducive for getting back into society. So yes, we believe that the program is important, and it's working because we see success. But of course, there are some persons who are going to fall through the cracks. But we just have to continue to work with them, and we believe that once we continue to persist with all stakeholders, we can get those persons to get on the right track. Thank you.
Mr. Cox, I'm gonna go back to the SNC board. Would you be able to tell me who are the members who were dismissed, and possibly the new chairman, the name of the new chairman, if we do have a new one?
I don't like the word dismiss because it's not dismiss. We have reconstitution and some persons are replaced. I think there were only two persons that were replaced. One is a legal, the person or legal person who were replaced, and the business rep, the persons from somebody from the business sector. Those were the two persons that were replaced. Just to also inform that members from the key associations, we do not select those members. Recommendations come from the respective associations. So the ministry is responsible for the chair, somebody from the business committee, a legal rep, and I think somebody else, I can't recall. But all the other members from the Calypso Association, Steel Pan, Mass Band, we do not make those recommendations. We write to them, and they send their recommendations. That is how it is done. As regards to the second part of the question, the chairman, the chairperson remains. From Ms. Gibbs, who was the last chair, the chairperson remains. As regards to the other two persons, those changes were made. One, the legal rep, we had knowledge that the legal rep has some academic engagement. We just thought that it would be important not to engage her in that regard, because she has some economic engagements outside of the state for a period of time. She's upgrading herself. And for the business side, that was a long-standing person who had been serving for quite some time, and we were advised that we give somebody else an opportunity to serve in that capacity. So basically, that was it.
Would you be able to share the names, the names of the replacements? Yeah, that is up with you.
Let me see. I can't recall, because what I do know is that the persons who we have identified for the business, they have recently informed us, because of their work commitment, there might be a possible conflict of interest, so they declined. So I wish not to call the name because they would not be there. So that is the only one that is outstanding. I can't recall for the legal right now. I can't recall. Yes, but that is it. But you can get those information, yeah, very soon. Okay, just check with us anytime. You can get that. That's public information. Yeah.
All right, I have one question each for the ministers. I'll start with you, Minister Lewis. For the programs that you have spoken of, how did you determine what are some of the relevant things that should be put into the different programs to be able to reach the young men in most cases and the young women in some cases? And do you have any structures in place to be able to measure that success? In other words, I'm trying to find out how are you targeting their needs, and what do you have in place to ensure that the programs are effective?
Okay. First of all, the ulterior goal of the Ministry of Youth Development is to ensure that our young persons can make meaningful contributions towards the development of our country. And against this backdrop, we would carefully analyze the situation amongst young people, the challenges that they currently face, and what will work best for them. And as a result of that, we were able to determine the different areas in which we wanted them to be engaged, looking at the contribution we are looking forward for them to make in the future. There are many measures in place to ensure that the programs are run successfully. And of course, we have measures to check to see if we are meeting the standards as indicated from the start. So we have structures in place, and careful analysis was done to ensure that the right skills and training is in place for our young persons. As I said before, the ulterior motive is for them to be able to make valuable contribution towards our nation's development.
Thank you, Minister. And the final question to Senator Cox. Just want to look a little bit at that, the 2-1-day internationals we're supposed to have next year. Is there any update at all that you can provide us with in terms of like ticket sales? I don't know if ticket sales might be done online, beforehand for the people who are abroad who might want to come for that, or when will it be done? And would the members of the Cricket West Indies team be back here anytime soon, just to ensure that everything is as they wanted, to ensure that we are at international acceptable standards?
Okay, I will go the second part first. Yes, we anticipate and expect members of the Cricket West Indies planning committee to come. It's a normal procedure. They would come from time to time to look at the venue, to look at our preparations, to ensure that the venue and all amenities and accessories are of acceptable standard, because they have certain requirements to fulfill under ICC regulations. As regards to pricing, I do know that currently they are looking at the pricing strategy for various games or the various venues, but is not finalized as yet. I think there is a date that was carded for publishing those fees. I think sometime later on this month or early November, so that will be coming out soon. But there is no final on the fees as yet. In terms of our local planning, we have established both a local organizing committee and a national organizing committee that is working towards the planning of the games. We have a lot of work ahead of us. It's going to be a heavy budget for the government of Grenada hosting those games, but we believe that it will bring great value for us from an economic standpoint, and also for our young cricketers. And we do have our now young Sherman, who is on West Indies team and is doing well, from Lewis from Wallakongs. Senator Lewis, Minister Lewis is here, so I know that she would like to hear the Lewis on him ring loud. But he's from Wallakongs. He's doing very well, and we want to congratulate him again on his achievement in making the senior men's cricket team. But we are working, and we have a number of persons, stakeholders who are working with us, because this is my first time around as part of such an activity, hosting such a games. Definitely relying a lot on the support of the Greater Cricket Association and all the stakeholders to ensure that we do have a successful 2-1 days next year, 2019.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the media? Are we good? Are there any final words the ministers would like to say?
Just for the nation to be reminded that within the next month, 1,300 young persons will be engaged in some very important program. It is a significant achievement for our government, coming into office from March 13th. So again, to the young persons who will be engaged, this is an opportunity for you to make the best use of it so that you will be able, as I said, make your valuable contributions to our nation's development. Thank you.
Yes, I would want to close not on sports or on culture, but on a national activity. A national activity, I believe, an important one, which is the referendum 2018 or the CCJ. This evening we have with us Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, who will be at the Wester Hall Secondary School this evening, I think at 6:30 thereabout. We encouraging everybody to come out or to listen in. I believe that you will be going live. This is very important for us. Grenada ascension to the CCJ is a very significant initiative. It will be a significant achievement for us as a country. I believe that it's an opportunity for, especially for young persons, to be part of this process, and of course, to make it more significant by putting a yes vote. I believe that will really put the icing on the cake for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit for us to really seize this moment, and to not just for in terms of the CCJ, but to show leadership in Grenada's part in terms of being able to make amendments to a constitution that is 4 decades plus old. I think it will show good leadership in our part, and to show that we are progressive people, and that we are moving forward and making those necessary changes that will seem deem fit in terms of development for our people. And so I encourage everyone here, the media personnel, to come to the consultation this evening, and most importantly, to cast a yes vote on CCJ come the 6th of November. I see the smiles, and I take those smiles as a resounding yes. So after November 6th, when we have post-cabinet after November 6th, I will be congratulating all our media personnel here on our achievement in terms of having a successful referendum. So I just thought it important to close on this. This is a very important thing for Grenada. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Minister Kate Lewis and Senator Nolan Cox. So I have some brief information here. Let me just share with you quickly from the Public Relations Officer in the Ministry of Health regarding the Chinese ARCP's visit. The ship left here yesterday, heading to another Caribbean island. So a total amount of people seen, 7,275. Of that total, 527 were seen in Carriacou by the 10-member team that visited. There were a total of 2,764 examinations. 17 patients were admitted to the hospital on board the ship, and of that total, 15 surgical operations were done. Now, 3 years ago, when the ship first visited, 9,000 people had visited the ship and received services. This time around, the numbers are slightly less, but this has been attributed to the fact that far less people with existing chronic conditions such as diabetes and hypertension in particular had visited the ship. And of course, we can forward this information to you, media members. So we do want to thank the Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister with Responsibility for Youth Development, and Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture and the Arts, for facilitating the weekly post-cabinet briefing today. And we thank all of you, our colleague members, for coming out. We have a pleasant day today. And of course, please just bring out the knowledge, the words that were given here today. Thank you so much.
The CCJ will be a Caribbean court, reflective of Caribbean culture, Caribbean values, and everything Caribbean. I ask this question: which court do you think will adequately reflect the views of Caribbean people to those who worry? Will it be the Privy Council, persons in Britain, persons who have never lived in Caribbean, persons who don't share our values, persons who don't understand what we stand for and what values we uphold? Or would it be our people who have grown among us, who live among us, who attend the churches we attend, who attend the schools we attend, who are members of the soccer teams that we are members of? Who best do you think will reflect us?
It's about time. It's long overdue. We should be there because, get out of the British thing, and so we are all one Caribbean, and I think that will be binding us more together.
Yours is yours. Privy Council is not ours. No matter what we do, what we say, no matter what ties we had to England, this is the time to keep divesting ourselves of those strings that tie us unnecessarily.
There's nothing in this bill for any partisan political party. Nothing. There's only one thing in this. It's for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and for the Caribbean region as a whole.
Justice has to be accessible, affordable, and swift.
It's quite a long time now since you have fallen back to the lie.
And a good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique once again. It is time for Hard Talk. My name is Sheldon Scott, and no, you ain't going to hear Devon. Devon is out for a few days. He should be back next week. So he is out for a few days, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Yeah, not too well. So we wish him a speedy recovery. All right. Yeah, so you've just had the post-cabinet press briefing. Hannah, don't watch me here, right? Right, nice. Yes, we've just had the post-cabinet press briefing, and that was facilitated by the Honorable Kate Lewis. She is one of the ministers in the Ministry of Youth, Sport, and Culture. I think she's a specific responsibility for youth. Yeah, and you have Senator the Honorable Norland Cox. Both of them within that Ministry of Youth, Sport, and Culture, and so on. Speaking on several issues. Yeah, so you know that the Grenada Cultural Foundation Board, it is up and running. The new board, and when governments change, you usually have different persons. Well, the persons who are on the boards, that changes. Yes, sometimes you keep some of the people, you change and you make little changes. So the Grenada Cultural Foundation Board has been changed. I think the Spice Mass has been changed as well, and one or two others, right? Nice, beautiful. All right, saying good morning to all of you wherever you are. I hope those of you listening via 97.5, I hope it's improved. Trying some Randy Isaac this morning.
Grenada, here I come. Sweet, sweet Grenada. I will never, ever let you down. Oh no.
Good morning to you, Zephyrin. Hope you're having a wonderful day.
I'll always be your support right here.
Mr. Kenneth Watts, my good friend. A special good morning to you and the family, sir.
To wipe your weeping eyes.
I know when you're coming and eat some fish. Every now and again, you have to make a little run out and eat some fish, yeah? So it's enough tuna boat out there. You must get fish hunting. Only thing I think you'll find is whale meat. Nah, we ain't there in that. We ain't eating that. Nah. We don't eat that one at all. Nah. We ain't there in that. So we're live on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM. 92.9 Sister Isles out there on the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, And in Brooklyn on 94.9, Noise Radio, We Vibes family.
Listen, it's time that we take a stand to defend your position.
I said, we're hard talking. We don't have to play this kind of tune only when it's around February the 7th. We play it for the entire year.
To take a bite and make their own decision and boast to the world that they are the reigning champs.
It's now 7 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. The phone lines are open 440-7377 and 347-329-3101.
If you beg them, please.
So those of you in St. David, remember the CCJ Advisory Committee, that's the Caribbean Court of Justice Advisory Committee, will be staging that interactive forum at the Wester Hall Secondary School this evening starting at 6 p.m. The feature address will be delivered by Prime Minister of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt. Remember, Dominica, our sister Caribbean country, they do have the Caribbean Court of Justice as their final appellate court. And let me take the time just to address two brief issues. All right, sir. So I see when you're coming down for your fish. Nice. So again, my line ready to go and hold it. Yeah, because I win your fish this time. I'm making sure me. Yeah.
Oh, Grenada, Grenada.
So yeah, two issues that I see being bandied about. Now, Grenada now has two cases before the CCJ in its original jurisdiction, which is leading to some confusion in the minds of some of our Grenadian people who are asking the question, why therefore do we need to go to a referendum? Why do we need to go and vote if we can already send cases to the CCJ? Now, all of the signatories to that CCJ, the creation of the CCJ, back in the early 2000s or late 1990s, I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head. I don't want to call a wrong date. But all of the signatories have accepted the CCJ as the court of arbitration for issues that address freedom of movement and other CARICOM related issues between countries or between individuals and businesses that are against what is contained in the Treaty of Chaguaramas. In other words, Grenada, since signing that, has always had the opportunity for its people to, for instance, you went down to Trinidad, as one of the cases now before the CCJ is an individual who was wrongfully treated by the authorities or believes that they were wrongfully treated by the authorities in Trinidad. And they've brought a case against the Trinidadian government at the CCJ. There's a family that were wrongfully treated. I think there's what they do to them out there in Barbados, and they have brought a case against the Bajan government through the CCJ. So Grenada can bring cases in its original jurisdiction. That means only things that address you travel to another Caribbean island, you're treated bad. You're trying to do business in another Caribbean island, according to the CSME, according to what the Treaty of Chaguaramas says you ought to be able to do, and you are being stopped from doing that, then that can be addressed in the Caribbean Court of Justice original jurisdiction. So Grenada has had that for quite a while. They've been using it now, but the original jurisdiction, yeah, that doesn't need any constitutional amendment or anything like that. But when it comes to the appellate jurisdiction, which is separate from that, this deals with all the other matters that go to court, criminal matters. For instance, rape or child abuse cases, murder cases, robbery, yeah, or civil cases like divorce proceedings. Suppose two people were married, and when they got married, they had next to nothing, and by the time they divorce, they're multi-millionaires, and they're trying to find out how to divide, and they go to the High Court, and the High Court decides something that the wife ain't like or the husband ain't like, and they decide they want to take it further, and they go through the OECS Appeals Court, still not satisfied and decide they want to go further. Now, according to our present constitution, they cannot go to the CCJ. According to our present constitution, they cannot go to the CCJ. Those individuals would have to go to the Privy Council, which isn't cheap, which isn't reasonable. There is the more reasonable financially option of taking that case to the CCJ as the final court that you can appeal to. Yeah? So Grenadians are having the opportunity to change their court from a court in England to a court right next door in Trinidad that you don't even have to fly to, that can video conference, or they can come to Grenada and deal with several matters at the same time, that these individuals, yeah, have, every one of us have the opportunity to go to the CCJ instead. But as it is right now, when it comes to criminal matters, when it comes to civil matters and so on, we cannot go to the CCJ with those. We can only go with things that deal with the free trade and freedom of movement and so in the Caribbean. That's the only thing we can go with right now. But everything else, when we have to go to the final court, we have to go to the Privy Council. In fact, there's a case before the Privy Council right now from Grenada. It deals with the issue, I believe, of one of the Grenada 17 who has done his law degree and would like to be admitted to the bar and is being denied through having been convicted of murder, is being denied the right to be taken in as a lawyer here in Grenada. So they're challenging that. So they've taken that to the Privy Council. Yeah? But there are many, many other cases here in Grenada that individuals would have loved to have the opportunity to go to the Privy Council but can't because the cost is prohibitive. Yeah? So that's what is taking place. So it's not that Grenada is already in the Privy Council, in the CCJ, and therefore we shouldn't have to vote. No. When it comes to the appellate jurisdiction, our constitution lays out that the Privy Council in London is our final court of appeal. Also, the second issue that is being addressed by this referendum is the name of the regional court. Not the CCJ, the court before that one now, the OECS Court of Appeal, to give it the proper name. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll find it in a little while on the bill. Yeah? So that's the two issues that are being addressed there. Right? In the bill itself that has been put forward that went through Parliament, because I'm seeing supposedly educated people, people who are supposed to be and claim to be educated, making some erroneous statements out there and attempting to confuse the minds of many people by saying that what is being done through the referendum is handing government a blank check to change the constitution as it sees fit. And that is not true. That's false. The bills give, the bill, in one section, it deals with the changing the name of the regional court because Grenada was involved in the revolutionary period between 1979 and 1983, while the rest of the OECS, in their own individual constitutions and so on, changed the name of the sub-regional court. Grenada had suspended its constitution during that time that was being done. So while all the other islands, Dominica and Montserrat, Antigua, Anguilla, and so on, while they are calling it by one name, Grenada is still calling it by the pre-1979 name because we were involved in the revolutionary process at that point in time. The constitution had been suspended during that point in time, and therefore Grenada never made the change. So something that ought to have been done some 30-something years ago is what is being attempted right now to make that change so that we fall in line with the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. But in addition to that, we also have the issue of making the CCJ the final court of appeal. Now, before you do that, you must give permission for the Constitution to be amended in this case. But some people are leaving out the part that deals with amending the Constitution in this case to make this specific change and trying to give the impression that government is being given a blank check to just change the Constitution wholesale. That is not true. That is not true. What is being given is a specific permission to make these two minor adjustments, not minor, minor in the case of the name, but major in the case of the CCJ versus Privy Council to the Constitution of Grenada. Because again, I'm seeing some supposedly educated people, university graduates, many of them with more degrees than a thermometer in dry season. And they are the ones that are making these nonsensical, erroneous, and misleading statements, trying to give the impression that government is just getting a blank check. No government could just get a blank check to just change the Constitution as they see fit. Not in a constitutional democracy. So that is not true. You may hear it from some of the detractors that are out there for their own minuscule selfish reasons that are attempting to make the entire process fail. Because it's not their children that might get locked up innocently and fail in the lower courts to have their case dealt with properly, and therefore needs to have that final appeal. It's not their children who may end up with a lengthy sentence of 20-something years for a minor infraction because some judge in the High Court or the Magistrates Court or wherever wasn't feeling too nice that day and therefore did not make a proper judgment in relation to the length of time considering the crime that the person would have committed, and decided that they're giving them maximum penalty. Yeah? So therefore that person can have their case brought to the CCJ to try and have a reduction. And some people might say, well, what trying a reduction? If they do things, let us spend all the time inside there. Yeah. But suppose it's a young person who steal a pencil, and after they steal the pencil, they're given 10 years in jail for stealing a pencil. Great stealing. No matter if it's $1 million or a pencil. And a judge just in a bad mood and decide, what, you watch, take 10 years up the road to that pencil. Does that sound reasonable? Stealing is stealing, we understand that. But at the end of the day, it's poor people, children, that end up there. And I heard a caller this morning on, I think it was Shaggy, saying that some guys were found on a boat with drugs. The police caught some guys on a boat with drugs, and these guys were not given any bail. They're poor people, children. But then there are some guys that committed a sex crime, and these guys were given bail. Well, let me explain something here. In the case of the guys that were caught on the boat with the drugs, the police, the Royal Grenada Police Force, the drug squad, together with the Coast Guard, caught these guys in the act. They ain't asking, they ain't guessing if these guys were there on the boat and the drugs was there on the boat. The policemen caught them in the act, on the boat with the drugs. And they caught them transporting, which means they had means of moving in and out of the island. Are you going to give bail to an individual who is, and you know what comes with drugs? It's usually guns. Yeah, they might have thrown the gun overboard and it sink. But guns, ammunition usually come along with drugs. So are you going to give bail to individuals who can then link up with their network and disappear from the island? In the case of the individuals who have been accused of that sexual act, one, they have been accused. Yeah? It's not like they were caught in the act. Names were called. They were accused. There have been innocent people accused of worse than that before. Would it be right for a person who has not yet been convicted of that crime not to receive bail? I'm not saying give bail to people who are accused of sexual crimes, you know. I'm not saying so. But always remember that if 100 are arrested, within the 100, you might have 1 or 2 that actually innocent and is some bad-minded person that just decide they're going to accuse them of something, you know. There are guys coming out of prison in the United States right now, after 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, even 15 years, who were accused of committing rape that didn't rape anybody, that were innocently in there. And it's not far-fetched to believe that there may be people here in Grenada under the same situation. I do believe, though, that proper guidance, in other words, you can't have a person who has been accused of child molestation and they are on bail and they are allowed to be around children. Yeah? They have to be separate. They have to be somewhere away from that sort of thing. And together with that, they're talking about they didn't get bail. One of the individuals that was caught on the boat is not even a Grenadian. So what if the Vincentian guy that was charged just disappears from Grenada and is back in St. Vincent? Yeah? What if he just disappears and he's back in St. Vincent? What is to make him come back to Grenada and say, I have a court case down here and I run away and I go to St. Vincent? He ain't coming back. Unless the Vincentians pick him up and send him back, and that's highly unlikely. So we have to be careful. No, I am not saying that people who commit sexual crimes or who are accused of sexual crimes should be given bail. But I'm saying in case one, the Coast Guard and the police catch the guys on the boat with the drugs. Somebody didn't call them and say, these guys, A, B, and C, was on a boat with drugs, and then the police arrest them under suspicion of having brought drugs into the country. They caught them there with the drugs on the boat. So why getting them bail for? You know it's them. You just have to bring it to court now. You bring the drugs and they bring the thing to court. That case could finish in a hurry. It's not like they could say it's not them. The police caught them red-handed. Yeah? In the other case, there is still that little doubt, and that may have been why these guys got bail. So it's not an issue of who is poor people children and who is rich people children, and that's, I think that's spinning the discussion into the area of nonsensical. Yeah? Nice. So we also heard this morning in the post-cabinet press briefing, yeah, in the yeah, my friend, I know they were caught red-handed. They were caught in the act with the drugs on the boat. Yeah? The guys that they're talking about there, these guys were not caught in the act, but an accusation has been made against them. Next thing, the accusation turned out to be false. Waiting does have a case for to prove whether or not something is true or not. That's why it does have a case. So it could prove whether a person is guilty or not guilty. Yeah? Because sometimes an innocent man might be arrested. Somebody just don't like him. They decide to go in and mess him up. And they come and they say, he do this. And next thing you know, he's arrested. And he had to sit down in jail for how long? Who's going to... Anyway, 4407377. I know some people ain't going to agree with me. 4407377 and 347-329-3101. That's the other number you can use to get on to the inside of today's program. Folks, remember, you're going to be having that CCJ forum. It's going to be taking place this evening out there in St. David at the Wester Hall Secondary School from exactly 6 p.m. Yeah, they're gonna have some little entertainment. You're gonna have the feature address by Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit of Dominica. You're gonna have different presentations by various members of the CCJ Advisory Committee. No, I'm not talking this evening now, leaving that alone. If I was talking enough on the radio to have to go and talk and some of these things and them too.
It's grand celebration, endless jubilation when Independence Day comes around. We keep saying we are free to chant our own destiny. There's no more mother country. But don't care how we dance up in the street, our independence is not complete. So come let we rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence.
So remember that CCJ Forum, it's going to be at the West Hall Secondary School from 6 p.m. this evening.
In charge of our Apex Code, we have in the Caribbean men and women of distinction. So for the CCJ, you must vote.
Good morning to you, Depot.
CCJ, without delay.
I believe Devon will be back for the October 19th discussion.
And Omar Rishu.
No, he was trying to organize a special guest or guests for that day.
The CCJ on the way.
Might be very surprised at who wants to come and talk, eh? Some of the people who want to talk, I might even have to not take calls because they're afraid. We have a caller. Good morning.
Mr. Scott, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, sir.
And good morning to your listening audience.
Yes, sir.
No, Mr. Scott, let me start off by saying, you would realize from time to time, I express some real hardline political opinion, and that is where I stand. But no,
and it's respected.
I heard the gentleman and Shaggy this morning talking about that same poor people thing. No, Mr. Scott, that's why I tell you, I'm hardline. Now, these folks, they should glad that they was taken back to land and end up in the prison and don't give no bail. Because my philosophy, based on what the lawmen observe and what they see, my philosophy is that the boat and all its content should go bottom. No, I'm telling you, end of story.
Oh, I just noticed that you was going on say.
Yeah, and all this content. Yeah.
So you're treating them like pirates that'll walk the plank.
Well, I'm telling you, man, because this is serious business. Because let me tell you something. This kind of trade, you know what I mean? Don't forget, I mean, when it reaches a stage whereby people have to protect the goods, they're protecting the goods by any means necessary,
Mm-hmm.
It's either you, is it that them or the other persons involved? Now, I want to say here a conversation I had with a couple people not too long ago. Now, I hear some people saying that when Dr. Mitchell leaves the scene of politics, that's the death of the NNP. I call that wishful thinking. Now, I am surprised, Mr. Scott, the NDC is not reading into the NNP next move. I say to the NDC, listen me carefully, look at what a Michelle was able to do to you all. Just imagine, we are preparing the slingshot and you all don't even have a Goliath. I want to say here this morning, look at what was done. Look at what we was able to do to Nas, who is a squeaky clean guy to handle. So I'm saying to them, don't make the mistake and elect handle, because the game will be over long before it started. This is just an advice from a guy with common sense. And Mr. Scott, one more second. As I listened to the press briefing there, and I listened to Miss Kate Lewis, Mr. Scott, you have to, as a man who just come to the NNP, you have to give me some insight as to how the NNP go about choosing their candidates. Because listen, Walker was a powerhouse. Arlene Walker was a powerhouse in the Northwest in St. Andrews. The NNP select Mrs. Delma Thomas. Then they select Miss Kate Lewis, who come and beat Mr. Healy by a larger margin than what Mr. Bowler beat him by, in the election before the last. So I'm just saying that, how come the NNP could be so good at selecting candidates that could win? And you're telling me that the other side cannot even select one person that could win? Mr. Scott, have a pleasant day.
Thank you very much, my brother. And just remember something, the same powerhouse Arlene Walker was first selected by the New National Party. Yeah? Yeah, it was first the NNP, yeah? Nice. Yeah. The thing is this, as you say, it's wishful thinking, because if you look within the New National Party, you would realize that there are many, many, many extremely talented, versatile, and well-loved individuals. Yeah? So whenever that time comes, there are enough people within the New National Party to continue to give some political parties throughout Grenada continued headaches. They used to say that about the People's National Movement, ain't it? They used to say anytime Williams go in with the party. They used to say that. And what happened? He went, and then you had that small period during which the PNM went out of office, and you had the NAR. I think that would have been 1986. Then we know what happened with the NAR. They had the coup in 1990, and after that they had elections, I think 91, and the NAR went out. And if I remember correctly, I think it was the PNM came back in. And then after that, the PNM went out again for a little period with the UNC coming in. And then you had the PNM coming back in. And then you had the PNM going out when they had the coalition. And now you had the PNM coming back in. So the PNM didn't die with their leader. It didn't go with their leader. It happens to some political parties, the Freedom Party in Dominica, the GULP here. But it's... Anyway, good morning.
Morning, Brother Sheldon.
Hey, how you doing, Doc?
Just quiet.
Nice, beautiful.
Oh, I'm just suggesting, I think it will be a good opportunity to I hope the advisory committee might have some of probably the actual bill itself on the constitutional change, the CCJ. Copy or so to hand out to the people. I hope somebody might be able to sponsor it, because I think it will be
copies of the bill itself
of the bill.
I believe that there will be copies available later. I think I did see some printed and so on, so there will be copies. Yes, also, it was printed in one of the newspapers last week or when.
Yes.
Well, go right ahead.
I just think it's always good, to let people have something in black and white, and I want to encourage persons to turn out, and here I think, and I want to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister of Dominica to our shows here in Grenada.
And a progressive thinker,
Spirit, I think we have to thank him for taking the time off to come and help enlighten our people as what has been Dominica's experience, and it's in terms of their leading the way in acceding to the Caribbean Court of Justice, So I just thought I'd get that across. I look forward to a fruitful evening. I want to encourage all Grenadians. Indeed, this is a positive step for Grenada and the Caribbean. And I think the rest of the OECS is looking for us for that indication that our independence and our honoring our own Caribbean brothers and sisters of the judicial field, it's long overdue, and we look forward to November 6th, when we can say to the world, that Grenada indeed has come of age, and we looking to move forward with a continued development. Thank you, sir.
Doc, before you run off, it's interesting on that November 6th. The 3 elections that I know of that are taking place on that date.
Yes,
the world is looking, and everybody's looking at those 3 countries to make a change. They're looking at Antigua and Grenada to make that change when it comes to the CCJ versus the Privy Council.
Yes,
and they're also looking at the United States midterms. They want to see
Midterm.
want to see the Democrats take the House.
Well, again, there I think, and what is encouraging to me, the resurgence of the resurgence in participation of the American blacks, you know, and I think that is necessary. It's an encouraging sign, and I hope they continue to maintain what they started with Obama, and sustain that, because in the interest of America and the interest of the world, you know.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Doc. All right. 4407377 4407377. Yeah, so tell your friends if they're having problem hearing on one frequency. Remember, we just call out a set, so you have 97.5, you have 89.5, you have in Carriacou 92.9, and in Brooklyn you have 94.9. We're also online on YouTube and on Facebook. Just look for Hard Talk Grenada. In the case of Facebook, you're looking for Hard Talk Grenada Live. And folks, yes, we will be broadcasting. If you check the CCJ Yes page and you like the page, go to Facebook, check CCJ Yes, right? And you can like the page, and you can also put in for the notifications so that the St. David meeting, and no, you know, watch, technical man, we're blocking the viewing in St. David. If that had been St. David, that'd come and see it. So people in St. David don't expect to see it. Yeah, we know how to do that, you know. We could block the video in St. David, so you could only see the video outside of St. David, right? So those of you in St. David, you want to see the Dominican Prime Minister, you want to talk, and you could come. All right? Nice. And we're going to attempt to broadcast via 89.5. And Campesh, we're going to attempt to broadcast live via 89.5 as well, okay? So 4407377. Let me say a very special good morning to the staff down there, the management and staff at Cost You Less. Now, right across from by Andal Supermarket there, Cost You Less. You know, that's one of the places in town that the name actually fit into what does actually take place when you go inside there. Yeah, when you go by Cost You Less, it does cost you less. I'm talking from experience. Every time I go inside Cost You Less, it does cost me less. So it go cost you less too. Yeah? So it does cost you less. Nice? And if you go inside by Courts, generally you ain't pay, you might find yourself in Courts in truth. Yeah. So you see place name in tongue does, you have LA Purcell Hardware. Yeah. So when you get something from by LA Purcell, it's really hardware. It go last for a long time. Not telling you, you go by LA Purcell Hardware and you buy anything. He ain't breaking easy. It's really hardware. And it's LA Purcell that start the whole thing. So the names are some places in tongue does really fit in with what does take place. So cost you less, it does really cost you less. Courts, yeah, it does end up in court in truth. Let me stop right there. 4407377. Paddy's Enterprise out there in Carriacou. Good morning. I hope all you're having a wonderful day. And the staff out there at Sister Isle FM, Mr. Fraser, Lisa Marie, not Juggling Junior, used to be in another station down here. I'm trying to remember the name of the other DJs, and they're up at Sister Isles. But good morning to all of you, Linta and everybody. I hope that you all are having a wonderful morning this morning, and that everything is going your way, the way that it should be going, the way that you want it to go. Also, let me say a special good morning to the Grenada football team, who will be taking on Cuba. It's on Friday night. Friday, they have that game, Cuba versus Grenada. So the Grenada football team, GFA, all they give me up. I mean, before all you that done call, all you that come inside and talk and thing, what going on? Yeah? Now, Chenny, talk to your people. Nice? Okay, Papa. In fact, I ain't even seen a little WhatsApp from you. Your phone spoiled. Yeah. So, the Cuba versus Grenada game, that'll be taking place sometime this weekend. I think it's on Friday. Is it Friday, Naz, or is it Saturday? Well, you'll give me the information in the interim. But I also want to say a special good morning to some of our other athletes. Friday. So it is Friday at the Grenada National Stadium. 8 o'clock cost $10. I seen good from here? What boy, that glasses working well, boy. Mr. Watts, the glasses working well? I seen good, 10, you know? Yeah, right. Yeah, so $10 from 8 o'clock, Grenada versus Cuba in the Nations League, CONCACAF Nations League. come on out and support Team Grenada. Yeah, because we kind of don't want what happened the last time to happen again. The last 2 times, we ain't going through that. So, here now, everybody, turn out. We're going and support Team Grenada. Alright, so I know the whole of Paradise, Keita and she whole crew coming down. I know Selwyn Noel and all of them guys and them they go be down there. Shaggy Duncan, I know you go be there too. Right? And then I know the Hurricanes side, them go be down. Everybody will come down and support. Right? Football fans, all, they'll be support. You might even see 1 or 2 people jump the boat and come down. Either the Dolly Sea or the Osprey. And come down to support as well. Good morning to the Osprey staff. I hope you all are having a fabulous day today. Yeah? Hope everything going all well with you all as well. But let's say a special good morning to our different sports people. And in particular, to an individual some of us seem to only remember when he run and win a medal, Karani James. Yeah? So let's say a very special, glorious Grenadian good morning to our very own Karani James. And listen now, folks, sometime look for Karani on Facebook and just send a message and tell him, yo, bro, we love you and we have your back. Yeah? And look for some of our other athletes as well. We have Josh Boateng. He's here in Grenada right now. I know that he was ranked in the top 10, I believe, in the United States. In discus, he also does shot put and so on. Many of you may or may not remember Josh as dominating when it comes to shot put and discus during the intercall games for several years, representing the Grenada Boys Secondary School. Yeah, the kind of guy that you have muscle or you hear have muscle and all. Yeah, if you watch at one of the follicular, you hear and think it's muscular. Right? Yeah, so Josh Boateng. And you see, some of these athletes, we tend to do a thing here in Grenada. Eh? Our athletes leave and they go to these universities, and then we tend to forget about them. Or Melanie Rodney's. Yeah? Kishara Joe, all these athletes that we have that have gone out. And when they go to university, who still holds the 100-meter record for Grenada? Sean Lambert, innit? Sean Lambert. Former PBC student, Dr. Sean Lambert right now. Believe still holds the 100-meter record for Grenada. So we have to remember our athletes. Because Josh Boateng, in a year or 2 next year, you have World Championships. And you and me will be screaming to see Josh Boateng out there representing Grenada and medaling. He ain't just go in there and show up. He go in there to actually get a medal. Yeah? Our Kurt Felix and our Lyndon Victor, the brothers who are both within the top 20 in the world in the decathlon. 2 brothers from a small island of Grenada, just 100,000 people, and both of them in the most difficult sporting discipline that there is, the decathlon, and the 2 of them in the top 20, in the world, in the top 20 in the world right now. And then we ain't bothering with them. They come, we don't say nothing, we don't think, and when they go to the championship now, we want to scream behind them and we want to go and we want to say, oh, that is my friend and I know them long and I used to talk with him here and I used to talk. How much encouragement are you giving to your athletes right now? We know that Karani James has had some issues. And it's not a secret that he is suffering from a disease called Graves' disease. He has said it himself in an interview last year or earlier this year. He got back from it. In fact, in a short space of time, he would have lost somewhere around 14 pounds or so. That's a lot of weight to lose in a short space of time. These are some of the things that it does to you. It makes you extremely tired. It has your muscles fatigued, all sorts of things. And he has still been out there performing on behalf of Grenada. The same person who brought Grenada our first Olympic gold medal. The same person who brought Grenada our first Olympic silver medal. The first person who has brought Grenada double Olympic medals in two different games, 1 medal each. So he's brought 2 medals. First person to ever do that. Yeah? World Championship winner How many of us remember him every now and again? Some of us only remember him when he go and run, and you hear Karani running tomorrow, and then you say, well, where you come? Oh, you win? Yes, Grenada to the world, and we start to wave flag and all kind of thing. No. Say you love him now. Talk to him now. Show him that you support him now. Yeah? It's not easy, you know. Imagine what Kurt Felix and Lyndon Victor does have to go through. Imagine what they does have to go through. When they're traveling, that they travel with the pole vault and all this kind of thing. That is considered wide cargo, I believe is the term they use for it. So they have to ship that specially when they're traveling. Then they have to carry equipment for each of the disciplines that they're going into. You can have specific shoes and so for high jump and long jump or triple jump or whatever. And then for the sprints, and then for the pole vault, and the shot put, and the discus, and the javelin. They have to carry specific equipment for each of these things. There's a specific shoe that you're using when you're going to do javelin. Anderson Peters taught me that. And Mr. Watts? Anderson Peters taught me that. And this is a young man again, Anderson Peters, that has a good possibility of medaling. Markham Felix. Good possibility of medaling. If not at the World Championship, at least to get to the point that come the next Olympic Games, these young men can be bringing back medals to Grenada. So don't just say when they're going and run and thing is when you're going and pick them up. Pick them up now. We have a call online. Hello?
Sheldon Scott.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Adi. How do I say it again? Credit key if you want, cash if you have it, credit key if you want it. See the favorite LA today? Yeah, I think it's so that we talk there today.
Yeah, man. Cash so if you have it, credit if you want it. LA person never takes back the raincoat.
No, never take it back.
Yeah, never take back the raincoat.
No.
Yeah,
so what's up otherwise?
We good, man.
Well, we there fine and dandy in Carrick. We are taking it easy.
Yeah, man.
So and if we get a parang today, why?
We know.
Do lie for me now.
I doubt.
Where's friend?
I doubt parang today.
You doubt?
I doubt.
So we can get a Christmas thing to Ajamo?
I doubt it. I doubt it today. I doubt it.
You doubt it?
Yeah.
But if you sleep through, don't worry.
All right, my brother.
I hear you talking.
All right, blessings.
Take care, buddy. Nice.
Yeah, you never know, but I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it. But I'm saying we need to continue to support our athletes and our artists as well. Yeah? We need to support them. When Talpri go down Trinidad and he make it big, everybody started thinking Talpri. Right? Then you had Super P. Super P didn't make it big with people in Trinidad. Everybody Super P. You had Burbis with Traffic. Everybody in Trinidad, Traffic. Everybody Burbis, and then we forget him. Come Mr. Killer, come, he make it big. We forget him. Yeah? You have to remember your artists. You have to remember your athletes, not just when they up, but sometimes when they're going through the little troubles and so on. And sometimes you might even know they're going through little troubles, but just that little talk with them, that little interaction with them, that little message that says, you see a Josh Boateng or Anderson Peters as a hero because look how they're pushing through. Look at the circumstances that they came from and how they're going through and they're pushing through and they're representing Grenada on the world stage. That little message that goes to Kurt Felix that says, man, we love you. We love your humility. We love the way that you put your all into your performances. Yeah? And not just for you, but for Grenada, for each and every one of us, to make each and every one of us proud, to give us a moment to be proud, to be able to stand there on the podium and hear your national anthem play and know that that is touching the heart of each and every Grenadian, to hear the national anthem play at the Olympic Games or at the World Championships and see the Grenada flag rising above all others. Yeah? So we have to big up we own. I say Karani has been going through his challenges. He has been going through his challenges. I'm not saying something that he hasn't come out and said for himself. So don't come and say I'm talking him man business on radio. He has said it for himself. Yeah? And you could research Graves' disease and so on. It's an autoimmune disease. It affects the thyroid glands and that sort of thing. Yeah? So it is important for us to continue to support our athletes. Gail Devers, the former US athlete, she also suffered from Graves' disease. I believe she's going to be working along, if she isn't already working along Karani, of how to deal with that condition and still perform at an optimum level. Because meanwhile, Wade Van Niekerk kind of messed up his knee and has not run for 2018. And he messed it up in October. Yeah, about a year ago, he messed up his knee in a rugby match. The world record holder, the present 400-meter champion at the Olympic Games, Wade Van Niekerk, a guy Karani beat before. But he is not too sure that he'll be running next year either, even though it's world championships and so on, because he kind of messed up his knee really bad in a game, and he's been in Qatar for many months going through treatment and so on. He's restarted training only this month or so. He stated that he ran without feeling any pain and so there's a possibility he's looking to make a return, but not this year, next year. Because we kind of want Karani to beat him when Wade, is also at his best. So you have two of the top ones, Karani with his issues, and Wade Van Niekerk with his issues. And LaShawn Merritt smiling at the corner. Yeah? So, folks, support our own. Continue to support our own. It's not just about talking on the radio or saying things like this. It is supporting our own. All right? Nice.
In the Caribbean there's an island, found and set aside by nature's plan. It's so beautiful to see, really? Spice Island of the West, lovely. And in the West Indies I say Grenada, please.
Just had to say that this morning, huh?
Glad we are to be of our country. Foreigners have recommended it high.
Because I said earlier this week, sometimes as Grenadians, we like to see our heroes fall, huh?
That's business, brighter out of darkness.
Some of us take glee in seeing people who were holding a certain position or achieve certain things come down to nothing.
The land there's much to
then we laugh and say, oh, they thought there was thing.
The way we live and cook with pride.
When they walk in, the shoe heel clicking.
We have no segregation.
Now rubber slippers they wearing or they going barefoot.
This is land of class, I say we're unsurpassed. Overwhelming.
If we do not start achieving that sense of mental stability, that we start embracing our own and wanting to build instead of destroy, we won't reach anywhere. We'll never reach anywhere as a country. You have the CCJ process. You're trying to build something. You're trying to empower all Grenadians. And you have some people, for simple political reasons, and let me say this, it's not the NDC as a political organization doing it. It's individual people that are pushing out their own selfish agendas, that are just going out there and trying to derail the process or trying to put doubt into the minds of others. But here's what. This evening at 6 p.m. out there at the Wester Hall Secondary School, you will have an opportunity to put whatever doubts are in your mind that could stop you from going into the polling station and vote yes. Whatever doubts you have in your mind, you can put them to rest, yeah?
Through the years as we march on for progress, hoping everyone will do his best. It is the only way we can to build the morals of this land, so that we can show we are slow but sure. Overwhelmingly glad we are to be of our country. Foreigners have recommended it highly. Hand in hand for us.
Just roughly about 3 minutes remaining on today's program. You know what? I'm going to drop another patriotic tune now. Sing it for your athletes. Sing it for your artists.
The island of spice has everything in it that's nice. And when you think of beauty spots, Grenada really has a lot. You can visit the Grandans, have bathing picnics and romance. You can relax on the sand and get a beautiful suntan. We are from Grenada, if you please, the Spice Island of the West Indies. We are happy, peaceful and gay, beautiful, healthy in everywhere, and the warm sunshine every day. Our sea water is crystal clear, and so it is all through the year. Coconut palms and grape trees line the shore, will make you feel at home once more. Fishing is a lovely sport. You can go in an open boat, spend your vacation happily, tell your tales to friends and family. We are from Grenada, if you please, the Spice Island of the West Indies. We are happy, peaceful and gay, beautiful, healthy in everywhere, and the warm sunshine every day. Taxis can take you on an island tour.
Yes, indeed, folks. That's nearly all the time we have for today.
An important stop that you should make is a visit to Grand Etang Lake. You will have a lot of fun in the...
Glory muscles are playing Santa Claus is my father tomorrow. Yes, I must expose you.
Always greet you with a smile. We are
I promise you all I'll play some parang tomorrow. Edited.
The Spice Island of the West Indies. We are happy, peaceful and gay, beautiful, healthy in everywhere, and the warm sunshine every day.
Folks, that's all the time we have for Hard Talk today. It's been wonderful being here with you. My name is Sheldon Scott. On the technical side, Mr. Nazim Benjamin. I was saying Nazim Burke. No, Nazim Benjamin on the technical side there. Remember, it's happening at the Wester Hall Secondary School this evening from 6 p.m. All right? Yeah, you'll have Prime Minister of Dominica, not the Dominican Republic, they're a different country. Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Scott. Yes, be surprised that you had to make that distinction. Some people don't know it. Yeah, Honorable Roosevelt Scott. He will be there this evening. I believe he might already be here. You never know. Yeah. So he will be there this evening to deliver the feature address in relation to the issue of Grenada acceding to the CCJ and kind of leaving out the Privy Council. You understand? Nice. Beautiful. You'll also be hearing other presentations. It's going to be a nice evening. So whichever part of St. David you are, make sure you head on down there. So my parties people, my Cosuless people, my courts people, my Republic Bank, Cooperative Bank people, Riser people, Grenville Credit Union people, LA Purcell people, wherever you are. Yeah? Hey, Steels Auto. Good morning. Yeah, people and them down there, them fellas in the garage, right, yeah. Wherever you are, we're saying a special, glorious Grenadian good afternoon now to you, and enjoy the rest of your day. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. We are out of here until tomorrow.
It's grand celebration, endless jubilation when independence day comes around. We keep saying we are free to chant our own destiny. There's no more mother country. But don't care how we dance up in the street, our independence is not complete. So come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. Caribbean people, this is another chance to advance towards total independence. Those who stripped our rights from we should never ever be in charge of our apex code. We have in the Caribbean men and women of distinction. So for the CCJ you must vote. Come let me rally around the CCJ without delay. Not tomorrow, but today. I know Marisha would have been proud to say, oh yeah, the CCJ on the way.
The CCJ will be a Caribbean court, reflective of Caribbean culture, Caribbean values, and everything Caribbean. I ask this question: which court do you think will adequately reflect the views of Caribbean people to those who worry? Will it be the Privy Council, persons in Britain, persons who have never lived in Caribbean, persons who don't share our values, persons who don't understand what we stand for and what values we uphold? Or would it be our people who have grown among us, who live among us, who attend the churches we attend, who attend the schools we attend, who are members of the soccer teams that we are members of? Who best do you think will reflect us?
It's about time. It's long overdue. We should be there because, get out of the British thing, and so we are all one Caribbean, and I think that will be binding us more together.
Yours is yours. Privy Council is not ours. No matter what we do, what we say, no matter what ties we had to England, this is the time to keep divesting ourselves of those strings that tie us unnecessarily.
There's nothing in this bill for any partisan political party. Nothing. There's only one thing in this. It's for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and for the Caribbean region as a whole.
Justice has to be accessible, affordable, and swift.
The CCJ will be a
Remedial work to be undertaken to address rock slippage in River Road. Details to this story and more coming up in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for today, Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. I am Wendy Edmond. The Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Public Utilities says priority will be given to placing nets along the area in River Road where rocks are slipping. The initial River Road project formed part of mitigation efforts under the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, which seeks to reduce vulnerability to natural hazards and climate change impacts. There are many areas across Grenada where nets have been placed to prevent further rock slippage and ensure the safety of motorists.
This was a phase of work that was completed under the slope stabilization project, under the DVRP project. As you know, everything, there was a budgeted amount to carry out a humongous amount of works. The budget is almost nil, but again, public safety, public life, it's of vital importance, and we are looking, into the pipeline to have the surface, or we say netted, submarine netting, somewhat similar to what we have at the exit end of the Sender Tunnel, just to keep motorists a little bit more secure.
Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Works, John St. Louis, he says the ministry will do all it can to ensure that work is done on the area, including constructing drains to prevent water from seeping through the rocks, causing further slippage.
There is what we call a whole variation of composition of the rock face. You have rocks, you have soft soil, you have a whole combination. So you find from time to time with the environmental agent, with water erosion, wind erosion, even shaking and so forth. From time to time you see dislodging of the rocks and so forth. So in a mitigation measure, we try to do some cut-aside drains so that you don't have heavy water flowing at the rock face. And again, for motorists to be caution in terms of the time when they are driving, not to drive too directly underneath the rock face and so forth, But we'll do within our confines all that we can do to prevent any injury and loss of lives and so forth.
Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell is in Bali, Indonesia this week for the annual meeting of the World Bank Group and the International Monetary Fund. Among other important engagements, Dr. Mitchell will be a keynote speaker at the Small States Forum 2018. Dr. Mitchell is the outgoing chair of the Small States Forum and will hand over chairmanship to Fiji at the end of the meeting on Thursday. In his final duties as chairman, he will deliver opening and closing remarks at the meeting, which will be held under the theme Small States Forum 2018, Building Resilience and Connectivity. The technical sessions at Thursday's meeting will include discussion on disaster risk management and debt sustainability in the face of shocks, as well as technology, innovation and connectivity. Experiences from small states and World Bank Group support for digital development. The Small States Forum is designed to bring together finance ministers and central bank governors from member states, along with high-level representatives from international organizations like the United Nations, International Monetary Fund, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Commonwealth Secretariat. The Small States Forum is usually held during the World Bank Group IMF annual meetings. This other story, the Grenada Bar Association says negotiations are ongoing for the procurement of a building to house Grenada's civil and criminal courts, and it is anticipated that this could be in place by the end of December 2018. Since May 2018, the Lime building housing the court complex for both criminal and civil high courts has been shut due to environmental concerns. Efforts to rehouse the courts were not concluded in time for the start of the law term on September 15, which meant a shutdown of both criminal and civil courts for several months. However, the Bar Association says some progress has been made to facilitate sittings of the High Court, following discussions between Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Labour Honorable Peter David, the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and a delegation from the Grenada Bar Association. A request was made to Parliament, and the presiding officers agreed that the conference room will be available for use as a civil high court. The former parliamentary office at the Botanical Gardens is also to be made available for the use of the courts, provisional measures that were welcomed by the Bar Association. This is the National Report. More news when we return.
The safety on our roads make this a major priority. Health of our people, a crucial necessity. Accidents happen when road users are either irresponsible or inconsiderate in one way or the other. Play your part. Reduce your speed. Be attentive. It is your personal responsibility. Let 2017 be the start of no more road fatalities. Be safe, be seen, be smart. So let's wise up as a nation, get to your destination safe.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs is seeking to revamp student councils in Grenada's secondary schools. This was marked by an initial student council meeting on October 2nd at the Grenville Secondary School for District 3, attended by Education Minister Honorable Emlyn Pear. We get more in this and at more reports.
You are just as important and valuable in building a stronger education system as any other stakeholder.
The Ministry of Education, through the Department of Student Support Services Unit, is mandated to the task of the formation of the Student Council, which speaks to the Education Act of 2002 in Section 71. It says there must be established at every public secondary school a student council elected by the student body from among its members.
The goal of the meetings organized in the various school districts is to sensitize students and others about the benefits of having secondary school student councils and to chart the way forward for the formation of a National Students' Council by the end of the current academic school year.
From my experiences, I must say that the Student Council is a very, very important tool. And if we want to seriously address disciplinary issues at schools, furniture issues and all of these things, there is no better place to start than with a student council.
I've been a member of the Students' Council for years, up to Form 1 and now I'm in Form 5. The Student Council has helped me in socializing and being a much better person. Thinking back over the years, I wouldn't be able to stand up here, so it helped me with public speaking. So I encourage you guys, which don't have a student council, to join in and create one in your school.
Several students at the meeting came forward to state ways in which they think they can serve and what they think are the benefits of the Student Council.
I think that I can give my time and tutor others that need help with study and don't understand what's going on in classroom.
I think the Student Council is a great idea. It's going to help us develop our leadership skills and better us because we are the future of tomorrow.
I can't speak for other schools, but in convents I think that the Student Council is often overshadowed by other clubs and things that are more important than giving students a voice and addressing real issues. So that's one thing. And then another would be student fair, because all of the students are afraid to express their opinion.
Student councils are expected to empower students with the relevant knowledge, skills, and attitudes to effectively function in a democratic society. The Student Support Services Department of the Ministry is leading the initiative, which involves the school principals democratically electing student councils at their schools.
I'm actually excited to hear about you campaigning in your schools, having your ballot papers ready, and getting the process going. But what is most important? It's not about just being elected. What is most important? What you do after you are elected.
The minister encouraged students involved in the student councils to be responsible and good representatives for their peers.
These activities are extremely important for shaping and developing your life, not just for today, but many, many years down the road.
Student council meetings continue for the other districts every Tuesday until the end of October 2018. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
And that's a wrap for the National Report for today, Tuesday, 9th October 2018. From all of us in the newsroom, I am Wendy Edmond, thanking you for viewing.
Folks, you know my stance and you know I'm a principled person. I have stated very, very clearly that the CCJ is the way to go, and it is inevitable. Look, now people could have reservation and you have a right to, that's your business. But at the end of it all, we would have to handle our own affairs here in the Caribbean. We would have to have our own system, and I am simply saying the time is now. The time is here for us to do so. And look, we can have disagreements, we can look, I've stated on the program my position, and there are people who say straight up, Kem, I don't agree with your position, and they challenge and they say certain things, and I respect that. We should have a healthy debating going forward. Tomorrow we will have Joseph Roberts or some of his acquaintances or some of his colleagues to come in and speak about the CCJ, and you have the opportunity to ask a number of questions the same way. But I am telling you folks, you have listened to me many a years, I am confident that the CCJ is the way to go. It may not be perfect, and nothing in life is perfect. Nothing in life except God himself. But I am simply saying this is something that you need to look at. Give it a try. Look at it. Listen to the both arguments. I am convinced that the CCJ is better for this region than the Privy Council at this point in time. And I am saying it will be better for many, many years to come. So I am simply asking of you to vote yes for the CCJ.
Grenada is about to embark on another historic mission of amending its constitution for the first time since its independence. From all indication, the push is for the changes to be made before the end of the year, 2 years after the first attempt failed.
We believe the CCJ is an important issue to take a second look at, and we're involving the same people, the community group, the legal professions, and other parties involved, and hopefully we'll have everyone playing a very united role in going forward, because if we do not work together, then clearly it's not necessarily going to pass, and I think it would be a tragedy of justice for this country and for the Caribbean. But I think it's about time that we stop having faith in everybody else but ourselves. All people, jurists have served regional and international institutions around with distinction, and it would be to me almost an insult to say to ourselves that we cannot be responsible for justice in our country.
2 years ago, 8 bills were tabled for constitution change. But this time around, the focus is on one which, if successful, will see the Caribbean Court of Justice replacing the London Privy Council as the final court of appeal. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, who was re-elected to office by a landslide victory on March 13, 2018, says he intends to play an active role this time around.
And the CCJ so far has demonstrated that it has stood out in terms of its decision-making process. That no one can say that the governments who are now the countries that are now part of the CCJ are getting decisions based on the govern those in political office. So in that sense, the people should be very happy that it's very independent judicial process, and I certainly, as a Grenadian and a Caribbean man, I certainly would want to support it. I would play a much more active role this time than I did the last time.
The bill seeking the constitutional change is already out. It's called the Constitution of Grenada Caribbean Court of Justice and Other Justice-Related Matters Amendment Bill 2018, one of the 8 attempted 2 years ago. It includes almost everything in the 2016 bill, but removed are the sections that speak about the code of conduct for public officials and the swearing allegiance to the country. Debate has continued over the years about doing away with the Privy Council and replacing it with the Caribbean Court of Justice system, the CCJ. The Privy Council in London and the CCJ based in Trinidad are both a final court of appeal that retries civil and criminal cases if the original ruling is thought not to be satisfactory. But proponents argue that the CCJ, formed and operated by the Caribbean people, would allow for a sense of independence and would make access to a fair trial much easier.
The arguments in favor of independence, the CCJ being an independent court, and in fact, the CCJ being one of the most independent courts in terms of structure and appointment of judges, not just in the region, but it is used as a model for other courts, particularly in relation to financing and in relation to the selection of judges. And that ultimately is the test.
There have been some recurring points of concerns about the idea of the CCJ as Grenada's final court of appeal, access, cost, and the likelihood of political interference.
What the CCJ has done and what has been approved with respect to the CCJ is the setting up of this independent trust fund that is managed by a board of trustees. And what is important about that board of trustees and the composition of that board of trustees is that you have no politicians at all on that board.
Former Minister of Legal Affairs Elvin Nimrod tabled the bill in Parliament in 2016. Newly appointed Minister of Legal Affairs Honorable Kindra Mathurin-Stewart says the implementation of the CCJ to Grenada will enhance the judiciary system of the trial and state.
For Grenada to have access to the CCJ as its final appellate court, that would mean for us here in Grenada that our people would have greater access to justice. As you know, with the Privy Council, persons had to travel far to England to access the Privy Council. But of course, the CCJ is right next door, and I believe, of course, with its location and its ease of access, that locals, ordinary people like me and you, would be able to have access to justice.
The Legal Affairs Minister says she believes there are competent experts here that are capable to execute the process.
I believe that we in the Caribbean are capable of creating and making our own jurisprudence. We don't have to depend on English judges and English folks to make jurisprudence for us. And I believe that we are well capable. We've had notable jurists and persons coming out or emanating from the Caribbean, CARICOM. And I believe that we possess that talent, we possess that experiences, and I believe that we are well poised to create our own jurisprudence. That in its sense alone too would basically signal, of course, a greater independence for us as an independent nation of Grenada, CARICOM and Petit Martinique.
In October of 2016, the Grenada Constitution reform was held, where citizens took to the polls to cast their ballots for or against the implementation of the CCJ as the final appellate court. Constitution reform process then was denied based on the outcome of the votes. Although CARICOM created the CCJ as a replacement for the Privy Council, it did not fully replicate the British system. Instead, it chose to copy certain practices while creating other divergent ones. Residents here say while they are willing to accept the change, there must be proper consultation on the subject.
Public education, and my first observation is that there are too many lessons, or if not lessons, too many chapters, or if not chapters, too many books to be learned within that space of time. The bills, the issues for the referendum, they are significant enough and far-reaching to have what I refer to as a limited time.
That of the CCJ, which country like Trinidad, Barbados, country which implemented that CCJ and they are ineffective already, they still go to the Privy Council for hearing in the jurisdiction. So we go into the CCJ now. We are neglecting the Privy Council and go to the CCJ. And them countries which are still implementing the CCJ, the Privy Council for hearing. So how that go be looked when we neglect the Privy Council and go to the CCJ, and them countries which implemented the CCJ are still under the Privy Council.
During the swearing-in ceremony, after winning all 15 seats at the 2018 general election, Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell reassured the nation that consultation and education on the process will soon resume.
As each of us seeks to protect and save our children, we must look out also for our neighbors' children and to the broader issue of justice. And as it is also related to our independence and to our national identity, we must open up a dialogue again about joining the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.